Hey, everybody, and welcome to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie here on Black Star Network. And today we are talking about, in our part one of our Empowered series, Empowered for Everyday Living. I know. There are days when it seems like either you just can't get it together, things are not falling into line, or you just have this weight of doubt that is holding you back from seeking those things that are meant to be yours. Today, we are going to be joined by Jennifer Bishop, author of Now Get Up and Go Be Great, and Dr. Tierini, our level up coach. They're both going to usher us into this dialogue and conversation on what it means to really find who are you? What do you want out of this life? And how do you get up and go get it? Welcome in, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning. You know, just this entire society in which we live often is holding people hostage to this idea that they can't feel empowered, that they can't get up and go live their dreams, that they just feel like it's overwhelming. I want to kind of dive into what does being overwhelmed look like and how can people identify, what that means. Let's dive in, Dr. Tierney, with what does being overwhelmed look like?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, it looks different for everyone. So when we're talking about overwhelm, it looks different for everybody. How I look and feel overwhelmed is going to be different from how you experience overwhelm. But it goes back to the thing that you said at the very beginning. It goes back to, do you know you? Do you know how you show up? Do you know what your norm is? Because a lot of times we can tell that we are overwhelmed when we are missing the mark on what our norm is. Maybe your norm is every time when you finish the laundry, or you hear that buzzer go in the dryer, you go ahead and fold the laundry. Well, if you are finding yourself walking past that laundry for 3 or 4 days, then sugar, you might be overwhelmed. But for somebody else, that might be their norm, and that might not be a signal that they are overwhelmed. So in order to really understand how overwhelmed looks for you, what it feels like, you have to know yourself and know what your norm is.
Yeah, I want to dive in right there for a second. I'm going to ask you both this question. Oftentimes, we're going to do this great one-on-one with Jennifer Bishop, but I want to kind of set the tone, for this conversation for our audience, Jennifer, because as Dr. Tierney mentioned, normal is also a little different for everybody because we stress out, and I'm not talking drugs, but we get strung out about ideas and thoughts and concepts and being paralyzed by just the idea of dreaming big that we sometimes just check out. I mean, literally check out. So, Dr. Jennifer, in your work, and you talk to us about how to get up and go be great. You've got these great quotes that you give us every week on social media about who are you and why you're looking at yourself the way you do in the mirror. Talk to our audience about establishing what is their normal, because it does look different for everybody, but some people just don't know where to begin.
I think that we have to first acknowledge where we have been and recognize that we have places that we can go. And that's why even in my first book, Now Get Up and Go Be Great, the now was so important because it's an acknowledgement that we've been somewhere, whether it be pitfalls, potholes, whatever the case has been in your life, things happen. But now you get up and go be great. Take those experiences, take all of the things that may feel like residue and make it your resilience. We don't have to stay stuck in the situations that people may have confined us to. We are the ones who should own who we are and recognize that being human is not a curse. Being human and learning how to maneuver through the new situations that are coming towards us and for us is for our benefit. We have to show up. And so we have to get up and we have to go be great.
So, Jennifer, you were talking about just the things that help people, or should I say, hinder people from discovering an access point of just, your first book, Now Get Up and Go Be Great. Some people can't even recognize their now because they're like so in it that they don't realize that those could be access points for launching something great and amazing. And they just get stuck in a rut. Share with us about this now. I mean, so many people, pink slips, red notices, evictions. I mean, it's just a lot going on, with people trying to live this everyday life. So help us figure out our now so we can move into what's next.
When we realize that everything that's coming at us is not something we're supposed to digest all at one time. And so when we learn how to compartmentalize and we take small victories, so we get a pink slip, right? What are opportunities that we can take and go forth with right now? Things are going to happen to us. Things are outside of our control. They're going to try to navigate where our life is supposed to go and so forth. We have the opportunity to make a decision to say, while it has hit me, it will not define me. While it has come into my life, it will not collapse me. I will take control of the controllable and I will manage the manageable. Once we figure out what we can manage, what we can control, then we can move towards the smaller steps of putting one step in front of the other, figuring out what our next is. But we have to recognize and respect what our now is. Our now is we have a situation that we have to figure out, how do we move forward? But guess what? We can move forward. No one should take your ability to move forward from you. Just because they try to stop you doesn't mean they're going to make you stay. We have to make sure that we own the opportunity to live our life to the fullest, regardless of who comes our way, regardless of who tries to put roadblocks in front of us. They will be moved. And we have to make the decision that we have the power to move them. No matter how heavy we think they are, we have the power to push them away.
I like that. Bring Dr. T in, because I'm gonna give Jennifer a break on this one. And I mean, not to speak only because how do you get rid of people, Dr. T? You see, that's why I didn't come to Jennifer, because I know. I already know.
Either one of these would have been dangerous, her or me, either one. Both of us don't mind the smoke on this.
This is that season, ladies, where we're like, we have to make some decisions about who's holding us back, who's hindering us, who's not buying into our vision, who is, crippling us from living our best life. Go ahead, Dr. T, give it to them.
So the short answer on that is you. You giving people too much power, sugar. Why when we say, oh, he's holding me back, or she's holding me back, or they are holding me back? No, you are holding you back, because you are giving your power away. Every time we say that someone or something else is holding us back, we are saying that they have the power to dictate the trajectory of your life. I need you to let that sink in all the way in, sugar. Okay. And a lot of times we do that. We give our power away, because then in the moment, in the now that Jennifer was just talking about, it makes us feel better about our situation. It makes us feel better about maybe some mistakes that we made. If we can point the finger and say someone else did it and I'm not responsible, so now I'm not responsible for fixing it. I'm not responsible for changing it. I'm not responsible for, we like to acquiesce our accountability to someone else, because then it gives us this feeling of what's that word? Learned helplessness. Where we can then just sit in the situation and, oh, woe is me, and get the sympathy from other people, because, oh, it's so bad. Now, sugar, you got to get up. There's nobody coming to save you. There's nobody coming to fix it. If you don't do it, then who gonna do it? Now, let me give a little spiritual caveat on this. Does that mean that someone that did you wrong, that they was no? If they did you wrong, if they mishandled you, if they mistreated you, sugar, it's going to happen. Look at how they did Jesus. Okay. And ain't none of us better than Jesus. So if he got mishandled and he got mistreated, guess what's going to happen to you? But here's where you have to decide where your faith lies. Because if you are a person of faith, a person of believer, a believer in God, a believer in Jesus, then you know he is the redeemer of time. He is the redeemer of your, nothing is wasted. Romans 8:28, all things work together. He will give you beauty for those ashes. But if you decide that you want to sit in your ashes and you just want to sit there and you just want to be helpless and you just want, then sugar, don't blame them. Blame yourself. Okay, so let's start there. Let's start with self. because you are the one that's responsible for getting up and moving.
I like that. So let me tell y'all, when we come back after the break, I'm going to dive into this one-on-one with Dr. Jennifer Bishop, because as Dr. Tierini said, you have to sit with your situation. But Dr. Bishop, she's going to talk to us about what it means to get in that waiting room. We'll be back in a moment after the break.
I'm Brittany Noble, Midwest-born, HBCU educated with experience in newsrooms across the country. Well, I've teamed up with Roland Martin to bring to you The Breakdown. This isn't just news. It's our stories, our voice, our community. Join me for The Breakdown, Monday through Friday at midday, only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, y'all. I hope you have your pen, pad, and digital device, because you are getting some wisdom keys today on what it means to live an empowered life every day. Dr. Bishop, now let's have this conversation, ma'am, because you give it to them on a regular basis. And I love that, because people who follow you know that you're going to give them the tools that they need to put in their empowerment toolkit in order to be able to go out and live their life. In your book, Now Get Up and Go Be Great, you talk about a couple of things: what it means to be in the middle, how to get into the waiting room and kind of go sit down somewhere and find yourself, like the old people used to tell us. And is this the season to go sit down?
If you can't get up, yes, it's the season to go sit down. It's a season. It's always going to be a season that we have to figure out who we are, whose we are, and why we are. Oftentimes we think that we can rely on what our future is going to be because of what we have done in the past. I'm not the same woman I was when I was 21 years old. I'm not the same woman I was yesterday. And so I continuously find out who I am so that I am not only productive to myself, but to my family, my businesses, and my community. We owe it to ourselves to understand ourselves. We owe it to ourselves to figure out what makes me happy. And so it's going to be times when you have to sit down, recalibrate, reset, and refocus. The biggest thing that I've learned from, and I'm going to speak from experience, I wanted to give somebody else the decision on when it was time for me to make a move, because I realized that my decision of letting someone else do it means they were accountable. They were accountable if it failed. They were accountable if it didn't go the way I wanted to go. And so I said, you know what? Jennifer has to take accountability. So Jennifer's going to own the decision. And when I did that, there was a freedom that I refused to let go of. And so every day I try to give the same type of encouragement to other people, that don't be afraid of your purpose and your power. Don't be afraid of unleashing who God has created you to be. It's a powerful thing to have an understanding of the fact that you are a masterpiece, regardless of where you've been, regardless of what may have gotten on you. Knock it off, shake it off, and realize that what's next is greater than where you've been.
Let's unpack that for a minute, because, when I'm listening to you talk, you mentioned residue in the previous segment, and sometimes that residue is doubt. How does doubt hold people back from just making a single step toward what they know can be positive and great, and this need for constant perfection? I mean, honestly, can we just kind of let that word go?
We should let it go. Doubt is something that keeps us stagnant and tries to handcuff us, because if I have doubt, that means I don't believe in my full potential. And doubt seems to be more comfortable than exercising the ability to move towards something that you're unfamiliar with. If I have doubt, it's because I've been to a place that it didn't work, but I'm familiar with it not working. What if we change that doubt into a propelling of a greater that's coming? We have to be courageous. My husband and I have series where we talk about courageous conversations, and those courageous conversations start when you look at yourself in the mirror and you tell yourself you're greater than you expected that you would ever be. We can't rely on where we have been and where we think that we're limited to. There are times when I get doubtful. Am I ready? That's the imposter syndrome. Are you ready for what's next? And the answer is always going to be yes. I'm ready. There are going to be times when you need to pull out your resume, your CV, look at your bio, and remind yourself of how good you are. Remind yourself of what you've already accomplished. We remember the bad, but we forget the good. Remember where you have already tread across, the bridges that you have already went over, and you'll begin to build up that strength that you need so that you can continue moving forward. This is you can't sit by and watch somebody else do this. This is a place where you have to participate in your process for your power. There's no other way around it.
So two words come to mind: competence and confidence. Do those two things go hand in hand as young people, as people starting their second and third act in life, are trying to really navigate putting their purpose to use in this world? How do you build competence and confidence so that it can begin to overshadow doubt?
I think that we have to stop assuming that competence comes before confidence.
Ooh,
Competence is thinking that I have to know it all right now. Confidence can tell you that I can learn as I go. And so what we have done is we have taught, and we were taught probably, that you have to know it all before you have the confidence to get going. I disagree. I think that you have to have the wherewithal, the confidence in yourself to say, I am able to learn. I am able to go. I am able to try new things and stand out and make myself available to what is next, what the potentiality is out there for me. And so, yes, confidence is critical. Competence is important, but don't wait for your competence to be confident. It couples together, but they can walk side by side. And there will be times when you have to be bold enough in your bravery to get to someone who can help you build your own competency.
I like that. Let's bring in Dr. Tierini for a second, because both of you in your works and your books and your speeches and all the things that you do, you allude to this idea that sometimes you have to put yourself in the driver's seat. Dr. Tierney, why is it hard for people to take ownership of the directionality of their lives, their goals, their dreams, their desires in life, and just say, I got this?
Yeah. It kind of goes back to what both Dr. Jennifer and I were saying about that accountability piece, but also to that confidence piece. It can be very difficult to take charge and grab the reins, so to speak, of your life when you're not confident in you, when you're not confident in the gifts, the skills, the talents that God gave you, when you're not confident in your own decision making, when you're not confident in your abilities, it can make it very difficult for you to then stand 10 toes down and say, hey, I got this. I can, it can also make it extremely difficult for you to be able to say, hey, even if I make a mistake, it's okay. I'm still going to get there. Because when we're not confident, then that's where that pressure for performance and perfection comes from, because we think that the only way I can be successful, accepted, fill in the blank with whatever, is that we have to be perfect, because I'm not confident enough in myself to know that I can fall forward. I can miss the mark and still, hit my intended goal. That's why I always say I never lose. I never take a L, because I'm always learning. Every time I miss the mark, every time I make a mistake, every time something happens that I didn't necessarily want to happen, or really honestly didn't want to happen, I start to look around and say, okay, how can I, get some lemonade with these lemons? What is it that I'm supposed to learn in this? What new iteration of me is supposed to come forward in this? And that takes confidence. That takes you knowing who you are and whose you are, and that you have greatness on the inside of you, that this ill-timed situation or less than desirable outcome was sent in order for it to to bring forward. So I think that's really the biggest piece as to why people struggle with really taking that accountability and taking charge of their life and actually moving forward, is because they lack the confidence in themselves to do so.
Mm. Jennifer, you mentioned when you were speaking about how sometimes people can get overwhelmed and be overpowered while trying to become empowered.
Mhm.
What keeps people in a calm state? This like, I know where I want to go. I have goals and dreams. I see where I can be, but this weightiness of being overwhelmed overtakes.
Mm.
How do we help people address this anxiety that comes with seeking success and feeling empowered, especially as Black women?
Mm. That's a great question. And I think it's something that we all have to deal with because of what we all put on us, right? We wear a lot of hats and we do a lot of things. And so we think that we have to do everything perfectly every time. And so micro successes are things that we undervalue. We should always remember to look at the things that we have done successfully and know that you can't and should not have to do everything all at once. Also, I believe in the power of delegation. I believe in bringing people in who are competent and confident and capable to help me grow in my village. We're not supposed to do this walk alone. And so when we think or we get on this place where we're just walking by ourselves, there's no iron sharpening iron, there's not anybody around us helping us to navigate to our next, it will become overpowering. We will feel a weight that we're not supposed to feel. I also believe that there are times when we pick up things that we're not supposed to pick up. We steal other people's stuff. And I'm telling people today, stop stealing people's stuff. You're picking up things that don't even belong to you. That's why it's so heavy, because that's their weight, not yours. As a mother, we pick up things that my son is supposed to carry that I'm not supposed to, whether it be a wife, as a best friend, sister, aunt, whoever, whatever it is. We have to recognize, stop stealing people's stuff. People are supposed to be growing from their own experiences. And if we're coming in to save them every time, then not only will they not learn the lessons they're supposed to learn, we're going to be bogged down and burn out. And we're going to wonder why we haven't progressed as far as we thought that we were supposed to. And when we don't progress the way we think that we're supposed to, we're going to deem ourselves a failure. Stop stealing people's stuff.
I like that. So everybody, when we come back after the break, let's kind of dive into that a bit, because what Jennifer said literally was stay in your lane. But in addition to figuring out how to stay in your lane, you also have to discover what it looks like to be your authentic self in order to be empowered for everyday living. We'll be back in a moment after the break.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everyone. Okay, yeah, I got a little giggle on that because, Jennifer and Dr. T were giving it to us. Dr. Jennifer, Dr. Tierini, we're telling y'all it's important to discover who you are so that you can listen to God speak, so that you can define and tune your own gifts, so that you can live the life that you were meant to live. Come on in, ladies, because there are some people out there, and Jennifer alluded to this imposter syndrome. In addition to having these courageous conversations with yourself and you versus you, discovering who you are, we wear a lot of hats and we wear a lot of masks, ladies, and we don't know when to take them off. As a matter of fact, I would bet that some people don't even know when they're wearing a mask.
Mm.
Dr. Jennifer Bishop, talk to us about this imposter syndrome and how do we help people discover their authentic being?
Imposter syndrome, for me, in the synopsis, is that we don't recognize that what we are going for, we've already earned the right to have. We think that we're not good enough, we're not prepared enough, that there's no way that I'm supposed to be able to do this or have these abilities because I don't know enough. And that's when I said it before and I'll say it again: read your own resume, read your own bio, remember where you have come from so that you will be confident in where you're going. We're stronger than we give ourselves credit for. We are deserving of where we need to be. And then after you read your resume, after you reread and rewrite your bio, sometimes you're going to have to slide it across the table to other people so they will know who they're dealing with. When you're confident with yourself, it starts with us. I made a decision that Jennifer was enough and that Jennifer was capable and confident to move towards and in the spheres that God was sending me into. And I walk boldly in it because I know how I'm made. I know who made me. So when I decided that I was going to believe in me the way other people were believing in me, it changed the narrative. Imposter syndrome goes away, and it goes into an understanding that you are powerful, able, and ready for your next.
I have a follow-up question for you, Dr. Jennifer, because there are young people who watch our show, 20 somethings, early 30 somethings, and they are literally paralyzed by the thought of failing because they don't see their value and their worth. What does a micro win look like for a young person?
Micro win is recognizing the wins that you have already had, the smallest ones to the largest ones. But if you look at the small wins of finishing an assignment or being recognized for a position or whatever that micro win looks like to you. But as a more mature person, a person who has had to walk that walk, I will say, and what I'm doing for myself and for the persons who are around me, is we have to stop lying to people. We have to stop saying that, where I am is where I always was. Tell your history. Stop giving people cliff notes. Stop this chat GPT of what life was looked like and tell them what it looks like. This was not always the way that it is now. And so when we tell them that your future will not be flawless, there's a pathway that you're going to walk through. There are things that you're going to experience. There are hurts, there are pains that you're going to survive. We don't teach survival. We don't teach the overcoming. We just want to teach the celebrations. And it wasn't always like this. And it doesn't stay like this because you have to continuously keep going. That's why I said earlier, do not be afraid to be human. Do not be afraid of the things that come along with learning and growing. When I was learning how to walk, I failed, but my mama got me back up. And then when I was learning how to ride a bike, I would skin my knee, but I would get back up. It's the same. Nothing's changed except our ages and the things that we may be falling down around, but we get back up. It's okay to show your wounds. It's okay that you may have a scar. It's okay. But we, as persons who are teaching other persons, mentoring other persons, have to stop rewriting our history. Tell them that it was painful. And that allows them to recognize that you do not have to live in a social media society where only the posts or the pictures that you show are the ones that made it to your reel. Show them the ones that you kicked out, that you deleted. Show them those, and then they will realize that they too have the ability to move forward.
I like that. Dr. Tierini, there's something about the power of transparency and vulnerability. And it is clearly a space and a room that most people do not want to walk in and stay in too long. Why is being transparent and vulnerable a superpower?
Oh my gosh. It's a superpower on many levels. It's a superpower, one, for the person that's hearing, the process that you went through, because it lets them know that maybe I'm not as bad as I thought, or maybe this isn't, as horrible as I thought it was, or maybe this is just a part of the process, so it lets the other person know that they are okay. But it also reminds us of our inner strength. Look at what I've accomplished. Look at what I overcame. Look at the strength, the wisdom, that was built in me over the years. But I think we don't often see it as a superpower for the same reason of why so many people are wrestling with imposter syndrome. Now, Suge, I want to free you for a second, because I want you to know that your wrestle with imposter syndrome is not necessarily your fault. Okay? So everything that we're saying, and get up and go, your struggle with imposter syndrome and not really being able to get up and go, and maybe some of that lack of self-esteem and lack of confidence, is not necessarily your fault. We live in a society where everyone is showing their highlight reels, and even aside from just the social media aspect, think about the commercials. You need this to be beautiful. Oh my god, this will make your hair look like this, and all the marketing that tells us that there's something wrong with us so that we can buy the product that they're trying to sell us. It's all marketing. They're just trying to get your money. And in addition, and in trying to get your money, they're telling you that there's something wrong with you that their product would fix, would make it easier. That within itself would give anybody a complex. We start looking at ourselves like, oh my god, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I have too much hair, I don't have enough hair. I mean, it will make us go into these self-sabotaging patterns. So when we understand that some of the messaging that we've received have been for ulterior motives, then we can start tuning those things out and start listening to yourself, listening to your inner voice. No matter what it looks like, no matter what, has happened, we can start seeing things through a clearer lens, and not through the lens of what someone else is trying to either sell us, tell us, or even them speaking out of their own insecurities or their own lack of confidence. You can actually start standing in your truth and being your authentic self. And when you get to that place, then it's easy to hold your hands out and be like, look at my scars. This is what I did, because I know that that doesn't make me less of a person. It actually makes me more, more wise, more strength and able to accomplish this new thing. So I can now take the bumps and the bruises and the wisdom and the things that I learned in one arena, and I can easily translate it to another arena, because I know that scar did not break me. It actually proved to make me.
Hmm. So I have a follow-up question for both of you, because I know as our audience is watching and, they're like, well, I had it going on and then all of a sudden, I couldn't do it anymore, or this resource left. There's this thing that happens in our lives called relapse. And, we call it resilience when we're able to get back up and keep the train moving and pushing forward. Jennifer, how do people deal with emotional relapses? Because one day you're on top of the world, and then the next day, because you got on social media or somebody didn't text you back or your numbers didn't look like you thought they were going to look. And then like you went all the way back downhill. What is happening?
Yeah.
Comparison is a thief of joy.
Preach, girl.
We think that, what other people are doing, we're supposed to compare ourselves to it. And personally, there's a picture that I keep of myself on my desk in one of my offices, and it's me as a 4-year-old little girl. And I look at that young lady when I feel like I'm going down in a relapse. I'm looking at me, and she's standing there. She has her arms folded like this, and her face, my face, but her face is so bright, and it's like the world is her oyster, and she's just ready to go forward. And so when I feel like, it's getting heavy, when I feel like, things aren't going the way it's supposed to, I look back at the joy that child I had. And I look and say, I'm going to protect that young lady at all costs. And so that helps me get back up, because I have to remember that it wasn't always like this, and it won't always be like this. Yes, things are going to happen. You're going to take body blows. You're going to have things that happen that you did not count on. But what you can count on is that you have the ability to get up. Figure out where you can start to get back up. It may be something small, but if you start the process, I promise you, one step will go into multiple steps, but you have to start. It's a decision that has to be made. Either you're going to decide to stay down, or you're going to decide to get up. But you cannot negate the fact that you have to make a decision. You have to participate in the process. So yes, Understand it's normal that everybody falls. We're going to fall down. But we fall down and we get back up.
Oh,
Amen to that. Dr. Tierney, weigh in there because relapse is real.
why is Dr. Jennifer and I the same person? I have this picture on my vanity, my makeup vanity, and it's of little me with my big, thick pigtails, and I am looking in the camera doing this. And I have it on my vanity because that's my reminder that that little girl didn't care. She didn't care what nobody said. She didn't care what nobody. Hey, whatever you said. Okay, I'm still gonna move on and do what it is that I want to do. What it is, not out of stubbornness and but just out of being comfortable in me. So if you say that I can't do it, but God done already said go do it, guess what? I'm gonna go do it. And so I keep that there for when those times come that I feel like I can't do it. So she constantly looks at me like, girl, if you don't come on out here in the deep. This is where it is. If you have to lick your tongue out at yourself and be like, nah, 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 boo boo, now keep moving, but that's sometimes you have to talk to yourself. You have to remind yourself of who you are. For me and Dr. Jennifer, we have that picture to remind us of where we were and where we've been and all that we've overcome. For you, it might be a post-it note, it might be a song, it might be the people that you have in your environment, but we all need that reminder that we can do it, because those days are going to come where we are going to feel low. We are going to have those moments where it's just you feel like you're just scraping the bottom of the pudding cup. But what is that thing that's going to help you get up? You have to discover what that is and lean into it so that you can get up and keep moving forward, regardless of what happens.
I love that, ladies. Thank you for sharing those insights. When we come back after the break, let's talk for a moment about the role of support. Yeah, I know you superwoman, you superman, you super kid. You think you can do it all by yourself? But trust me, it takes a village. We'll be back in a moment after the break.
A decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads, let's go! We show up not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together, we organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when Black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
Welcome back, everybody. And as you can tell, learning how to live every day as an empowered person, it takes work, and that work is hard. But depending on the generation in which you live, there have been times and will be times going forward where you can bring people alongside you to encourage you in your journey. Ladies, let's talk about what support looks like these days, and where do we find our support in the people that we have around us. Dr. Bishop, you talk about in your book the value of having a circle. What does it look like to have people not just in your corner and in your court, but building that circle of people who can come into your inner space and encourage you and support you and move you forward?
You need people around you who will tell you the truth, unapologetically, who have your best interests at heart, and who you respect and who you can honor. You have to audit your circle, because the person, again, I said earlier, the person that I was when I was a teenager, I'm not the same person. And so my friends may have changed because the environments that I've been in have changed. And I do believe God sends people your way for a season, a reason, and a lifetime. But we have to participate. I can't get past that. And we have to show ourselves friendly as well. If you want a circle of friends around you, make sure that you're a friend worth being in their circle as well. And then own and be a part of the concept that iron does sharpen iron. The saying has always been, if you're the smartest one in your circle, you need a new circle, because you have to grow. It's not that those persons are not still worthy to be friends, but you also have to recognize that you don't have to just have one circle of friends. It's people and places that you are going to have to, people you're going to meet, places you have to go. And God is going to present people with you and for you that's going to help you go to those different levels. You have circle of family, you have circle of co-workers and so forth. But then you have that intimate circle. You have the group of people who have seen your good days and bad days and don't judge you regardless. Those are the ones. Those are the ones that I have found that I keep. And I pray they keep keeping me, because I'm going to keep them. Because I like people who can tell me, sometimes you have to be chin checked. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm one of the ones I will own it if I'm wrong. But they do it out of love, not out of viciousness. It's not because I'm doing this or they're doing that. It's out of love. I want everybody to eat. If you find a group of friends that you love seeing them be celebrated, because when they win, you win, and when you win, they win. Then you found a good circle. You found a tribe. You understand your village.
I'm going to piggyback on something that you said, because depending on your age, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and on, when you say have different circles of friends, that works for people in understanding how that looks over 30 and 40. That younger generation, when people have these different circles of friends, I hear things like, oh, she two-faced it, or, she not genuine because she running with them and then she want to come hang with us. How do we get these young people to understand that you need to diversify your circle? I don't understand how the craziness that we see on social media gets exacerbated by people having different friends groups, when we're constantly saying you need to have different friend groups if you're going to succeed and not be drugged down by people who are not really going anywhere.
I'll share this from my example life. As I was growing up, I played sports. And so I had friends who didn't play sports. So I had one group of friends who I may have hung out with at school. And then I had my teammates. And then I had family friends and so forth. And I was able to sustain and maintain those relationships. And then at times when I could bring them together, they would come together perhaps for one purpose, which may have been me. And then they would go back to their own individual places. And I would learn to navigate who they were for me at that time. It's a delicate balance, because every friend won't mix, but every friend is not supposed to do everything for you in the person that you're becoming. One friend helped me develop how to stand firm and be strong. One friend helped me develop how to be more caring and giving. And so I added the age. We talked about the age part, but it's also about the stage part too. There are 40 and 50-year-olds who don't have the maturity that I've seen of some 20-year-olds, because where are you in your life? Some people know who they are now and they haven't found out in their 50s and 40s. And so it takes us, how was I say this? It takes us being able to look in the mirror and have a frank conversation, and having friends around you that will, like I said earlier, will chin check you to say, yo, you too old for this, or you have too much going on for you to continue to do this. And then for the ones who enable you to keep up mess and keep up stress, you need to learn when to let them go. I don't know if you've ever had an allergy test before, but I had one recently, and they stuck me with 172 needles to find out what I'm allergic to. And out of those 172 needles, I was only, which had different variants in it, I was only allergic to 11 things. Now, of those 11 things, 7 of them are a part of my life I'm not getting rid of. Bermuda grass, mushrooms. I'm going to eat my mushrooms. And ironically, toe jam. That's crazy. But we in life have to figure out what we're allergic to, because there are some things that I'm going to get rid of, and there's some things that I'm not going to get rid of. So learn what you can live with. But when you find out that your body is having an allergic reaction to people being around you, when you find out that you're having an allergic reaction, and I'm stressed and I'm depressed when this particular person comes around, you have to realize that decision to kick them out. Go on somewhere. You have to make it. You can't be afraid to do it. We're afraid to be alone sometimes, because when you're alone, you have to have conversations with yourself, and we have to prepare ourselves for that.
I concur 100%. Dr. Tierney, jump in there, because I know you were like double Dutch.
Well, Sugar, I amen 100 everything that Dr. Jennifer just said. I got people that chin check me. I got people that lovingly back me into a corner and tell me to sit down, and will bring me a snack and check on me and still will not let me get up from that corner. All of that, everything that she said, 1000%. But I want to talk about the weed that God allows to grow up among the wheat. What do I mean? Sometimes there are people that God will allow to come into our lives to be the thing that spurs us forward. It's not necessarily the friend that's lovingly chin checking you, or the one that's checking on you, or sometimes it's the one that you can't stand. And I'm not saying this to promote toxic or abusive relationships or interactions or anything like that. Sugar, you know how I feel about boundaries, okay? But there are some relationships that you cannot necessarily kick away so easily. So it might be Bob from accounting at your job. It might be your mom. It might be a family member, but that God will allow, because it's something that rubs in that situation that's causing you or calling you to go higher. It's calling you to deal with whatever that insecurity is that you don't even know is there until Bob shows up in the room. It's calling you to keep going forward in a way that a friend won't necessarily pull that thing out of you, but a hater sure will. Okay, there's a certain thing that grows in us, that hunger, that tenacity that comes out of us when we are in the presence of a foe as opposed to a friend. And when we are in those situations and we're trying to walk away from it, or pray them away, and they just won't move, then we need to look at that thing a little bit closer and say, okay, what is this person's presence in my life for? Is this person here to spur me forward? Even Jesus had a Judas. Okay, he told Peter, get behind me, and Peter was his homeboy, and he let Judas kiss him on the cheek, because Judas was the one that was getting him towards his purpose. So sometimes God will allow us to have a Judas in our circle to spur us forward. Again, I say this is not to celebrate or condone toxic relationships, toxic behaviors, or anything like that. It is in those situations where you recognize that this is a person that I can't quite easily shake, but every time they're around, there's something in me that grows. There's a hunger in me that develops. It actually propels me forward toward what it is that I want, in a way that being in a comfortable spot with a friend don't quite get that same energy. But when I'm uncomfortable in this type of situation with this type of person, oh, I'm hitting that mark every time. Those are the ones that you also need to make sure that now keep your good eye on them, Sugar. Keep your good eye on them. What's that old saying? Keep your friends closer, your enemies closer. Keep your good eye on them, but I need you to understand that they too serve a purpose. Okay, those people do serve a purpose in our lives, and making sure that you're not throwing away the weeds so quick, because they might actually be helping your wheat to grow.
Absolutely. So let's do this. We haven't done this in a while. If there was one word that you would give to people who have felt empowered in the past, but because of where we are in today's society, they're just kind of not there. If you could give them a right now word for people who may feel invisible and overpowered by life situations and circumstances, Dr. Jennifer, what would be your word and encouragement for them?
I would tell them you're not invisible, you're in preparation.
Mm,
You're going through something that is going to transform you into something greater that you cannot even imagine. Don't feel overpowered by what you see today. Get prepared for what's coming for tomorrow. We get caught up in only on the things that we can see, but we have to operate by faith. We have to operate by faith. And when we do that, the sky is the limit, because God made you as a masterpiece. And when we understand, when we make a decision that I will operate in my purpose, yes, I understand I will get down. Yes, I understand that I will get back up, and that it's normal. Let's normalize being human. There's a human experience that is beautiful. What we all experience. Don't think that you are the only one. Don't think that you can't make it. You are not invisible. You are in preparation for greater.
I love that. Dr. Tierney.
Take some time reconnecting with you, your power, and that is what will build your confidence. And from confidence, everything else grows from there. So don't necessarily just worry about or focus on, okay, what am I going to do next? Focus on who am I right now? Reconnecting with you, let that build your confidence, and then go for it.
Absolutely. Thank you both for sharing. I think mine would be this. I always tell people, don't make a permanent decision about anything when you're going through a temporary situation. When we come back after the break, I'll give my reflection.
I'm Brittany Noble, Midwest-born, HBCU educated with experience in newsrooms across the country. Well, I've teamed up with Roland Martin to bring to you The Breakdown. This isn't just news. It's our stories, our voice, our community. Join me for The Breakdown, Monday through Friday at midday, only on the Black Star Network.
Welcome back, everybody. And as you can tell, learning how to live empowered every day means you have to be in it, 10 toes down, 100% when you can. Make certain that you give yourself first place, first priority in your life. Find time to sit down with yourself and discover what it means to really walk in your own shoes. And then look at the life lessons that you've been learning and use those as stepping stones to pivot your life and propel your dreams, goals, and aspirations forward. I hope that something we've said today has given you the ability to live an empowered life.